Rumors are circulating that rapper Jim Jones got into a violent altercation with son during what insiders are calling a highly emotional family breakdown. What began as a private argument allegedly escalated into something far more serious, and now it's sending shockwaves through the hip-hop world. Though neither Jim nor his son has officially spoken out, leaked reports and alleged eyewitness accounts suggest that tensions have been boiling. This is a shocking turn of events that left fans stunned and social media in complete meltdown, behind the scenes for months, and now that the family seems to be in total chaos following this alleged outburst. Some say this could be a turning point in Jim Jones's career and public image, while others say it's only the beginning, and that deeper problems within the family are finally coming to the surface. What actually happened that night? Was it a heated argument that went too far, or is there something darker at work? Stay tuned because the drama is just getting started as the rumor mill whirls with more shocking information. While the public frequently saw the smiling red carpet appearances and family posts on social media, insiders now claim that behind closed doors, things weren't as picture-perfect as they seemed. According to sources close to the family, the tension between Jim Jones and his son had been building up over time. The two had always had a complicated relationship marked by moments of deep connection, followed by long periods of emotional distance. It reportedly all started earlier that week when Jim's son, whose name is being withheld for privacy, returned home from a trip with his mother. One witness described the scene as heartbreaking, saying that emotions ran high and neither Jim nor his son was willing to back down. They both said things they probably didn't mean. The source shared that it was like years of pain coming out in one night. The young man returned with a lot on his mind and had been harboring feelings of resentment, especially about how Jim had allegedly prioritized his career over their personal bond. Tensions exploded when a simple disagreement over household responsibilities turned into a full-blown verbal altercation. What genuinely shocked everyone was what happened next. According to sources, Jim lost control of his temper and lunged at his son in a moment of extreme rage. Although it's unclear if actual punches were exchanged, the altercation was reportedly intense enough for other family members to intervene and separate them. Some claimed pushing occurred, while others maintained it didn't go that far, but everyone agreed that the atmosphere in the room became dangerously aggressive. What's even more unsettling about this incident is how quickly word spread. Hours after the fight broke out, rumors of it spread on fan pages, and shortly after, a blurry audio clip purportedly taken inside the house started making the rounds online. Although muffled, the clip clearly captured Ray's voice and what sounded like furniture being knocked over. Fans were shocked and worried, and others were quick to blame Jim for his lack of a father or his son for being disrespectful. The social media response was swift and divided, with many people using hashtags. One fan wrote, "I can't believe this. Jim Jones always talked about loyalty and family, but now this." Another wrote, "We don't know what really happened. Don't judge without the full story." The internet was ablaze, and it seemed like everyone had an opinion. But for those closest to the situation, this wasn't just another viral scandal. It was a deeply personal crisis. While it doesn't make it right, it does explain how something like this could happen. Meanwhile, Jim's son reportedly left the house that same night, packing a bag and going to stay with his mother, refusing to speak to his father or answer his calls. According to a longtime friend of the family, Jim has been under a lot of stress lately due to both personal issues and pressures from the industry. And sometimes when people are hurting, they lash out. Fans have also been expressing their concerns about the fight and the lack of a public statement, with many wondering why Jim hasn't addressed the incident, especially with rumors spreading like wildfire. Some believe he's staying silent to protect his son's privacy, while others think he's hoping the drama will blow over. However, if anything, the silence is only fueling more anxiety among those close to the family. It's not just about what happened that night, according to one source, but about everything that's been building up over the years. Jim Jones's former associate, who worked with him in his early career, fueled rumors by claiming that isn't the first time he's had trouble controlling his temper. The associate wrote in a since-deleted post, "Jim's always had a fire in him. Sometimes it's passion, sometimes it's rage. I've seen both." Even though the message was promptly removed, supporters continued to circulate screenshots of it, connecting the dots. Despite the chaos, some of Jim's inner circle members are reportedly attempting to mediate and bring the family back together. According to those close to her, Chrissy Lampkin, his longtime partner and a confident person, has been actively involved in attempting to reduce tensions. Chrissy has been in constant contact with Jim and his son, encouraging them to talk things out and seek professional help if necessary. She loves them both, one insider shared, and she simply wants peace in the family. But as emotions continue to run high and more details of the story emerge, it's obvious that this isn't something that can be overnight. The incident triggered broader discussions about father-son dynamics, emotional trauma, and the pressures of fame. Fans are now analyzing old interviews, lyrics, and even reality TV clips to try to understand the source of the tension. One fan wrote on an old video, "You could see the pain behind those smiles. They were never really okay." As the hours passed, the media frenzy only intensified, and outlets started requesting statements. But Jim and his representatives have remained silent thus far. On the other hand, a family friend shared a mysterious note on Instagram that said, "Pray for healing. The strongest families are the most broken." Just as the public was starting to accept the possibility that they might never know the whole truth, an unexpected turn of events occurred. One of Jim's son's close friends broke their silence and gave a brief, heartfelt interview to a little-known podcast called The Post. That post alone received thousands of likes and comments, with fans simultaneously offering prayers and demanding answers. The podcast clip went viral quickly, reigniting the firestorm and forcing even more people to take sides. Some called for Jim to be canceled, while others pleaded for empathy, insisting that everyone makes mistakes and that the family needed healing, not hate. Amidst all of this chaos, Jim's son has remained quiet, posting nothing on social media and reportedly avoiding all public appearances. The friend didn't go into specifics, but he described the night of the incident as one of the darkest moments in his friend's life. "He didn't deserve what happened," the friend said, and that kind of betrayal cuts deep. The mystery was deeper, the anticipation was even more intense, and the already chaotic and emotionally charged situation was about to take yet another unexpected turn. As soon as word of the podcast clip spread, more family members came forward, eager to share their version of what actually happened that night. The floodgates were officially opened, and with each new voice added to the mix, the narrative became even more twisted, layered, and heartbreaking. Jones was now starting to doubt the man they believed to be familiar with. One voice that fueled the already raging firestorm was that of an anonymous family insider, who asserted that wasn't the first major conflict between Jim and his son. According to them, the two had fought multiple times before, but the arguments had always been kept under wraps. They said the family made a concerted effort to keep everything under wraps, particularly because Jim was afraid of being judged by others and didn't want his flaws to be seen. This assertion caused fans to relive a specific scene from a previous reality TV appearance in which Jim's son appeared withdrawn and uneasy on camera. At the time, people assumed he was simply shy or anxious about being in the spotlight. But now that video was being reshared with captions like, "Observe the anguish," in his eyes. And no one noticed that he was crying for help. While some fans felt bad for not seeing the warning signs sooner, others attacked Jim, accusing him of being emotionally. Talk show hosts began to speculate about whether Jim's anger had reached a breaking point and whether he had neglected his responsibilities as a father in pursuit of money, music, and fame. The media, always eager for more drama, seized upon this story and ran wild headlines like "Troubled History Between Jim Jones" and "Son Revealed" and "Family Secrets Exposed." Music industry people also began to weigh in, with some supporting him and others criticizing him. Jim ultimately took action amid the uproar, but not in the way that everyone had anticipated. Rather than making a public announcement or confronting the problem head-on, he uploaded a mysterious message to his Instagram account that said, "Real ones move in silence. I said what I said. We good." Given how serious the situation had gotten, many fans were shocked and thought Jim's statement was tone-deaf and condescending. Rather than calming the storm, it merely fueled the. Within minutes, hundreds of comments were made. "This ain't it, Jim. Your son is hurting, and you post this." Another fan wrote, "So disappointed in you. We thought you were different." Even celebrities started to subtly criticize Jim, with some unfollowing him on social media and others liking posts that criticized him. The fallout was spreading quickly, and it appeared that Jim Jones was rapidly becoming a pariah in industry, But behind the scenes, things were even more tense. He began talking to a therapist following the incident, encouraged by his mother and a close family friend. According to one source, he is realizing that he doesn't have to live in his father's shadow any longer, and this could be the beginning of him finding voice. In fact, rumors started to circulate that Jim's son was thinking of doing a candid interview about his entire upbringing, not just the fight. If he did indeed decide to speak out, it could ruin Jim's reputation forever, but some admirers think it was long overdue. One fan wrote, "He's been silent for too long. He deserves to be heard." Jim apparently became more irritated as these accusations spread. According to those close to him, he felt betrayed by everyone around him, not just his son. He felt as though the world had turned against him. One former acquaintance said, "It seems like everyone has forgotten all the good he's done. All they care about is this one moment is now." Jun's inner circle started shrinking fast. People he'd known for years were suddenly distancing themselves, afraid of getting caught in the crossfire. Meanwhile, Chrissy was doing everything she could. To mediate the situation, she purportedly reached out to Jim's son multiple times, asking if he'd be open to sitting down and having a private conversation, though he didn't respond right away. Sources say he didn't completely shut the door either. He's hurt, but he still loves his dad. One insider explained, "It's with family, things are usually tricky." Jim was reportedly losing deals left and right, and brands that had collaborated with him started to distance themselves from him out of concern for the negative reaction. One brand spokesperson stated, "We support artists, but we also have a responsibility to stand against violence no matter who it involves." The former nanny who had worked for the family when Jim's son was a child came forward in an emotional TikTok video, saying she wasn't surprised by what happened. "I saw things," she whispered tearfully. "Things that broke my heart. I hope he finds healing." The statement didn't specifically name Jim, but everyone knew who it was about. In the midst of this chaos, more unexpected twists started to unfold. After her video went viral overnight, the story abruptly started to change once more, from indignation to compassion, from rage to worry. People started to ask more profound questions. Was this a single violent incident, or the culmination of years of unresolved trauma? Was Jim a villain, or just a broken man who never dealt with problems? Was his son acting out, or finally defending himself after years of suffering? The boundaries between victim and aggressor were beginning to blur, and some fans clung to hope. One well-liked comment thread beneath a viral video read, "Maybe this is Rock families argue. It's unpleasant, but they can still find a path back. Maybe they can rebuild from here." Others weren't so forgiving, saying they were done helping Jim permanently. As public opinion swung wildly back and forth and emotions continued to spiral, Jim and his son remained silent in public. No interviews, live streams, or statements, as if they were both waiting for the storm to pass. Or the story was far from over, though, because just when it seemed like everything was coming to a head, an unexpected visitor, someone no one had seen in years, arrived at Jim's house late one evening. The city was sleeping, the house was quiet, but something about the knock felt heavy and urgent, and Jim, who had been sitting in silence in the living room, nursing a drink, and scrolling through the endless stream of comments about him online, didn't move for a moment. He thought it might be his imagination, but then he heard 3 slow, deliberate knocks again, and he got up, not knowing who would be there at this hour. His breath caught when he opened the door and saw his estranged brother, whom fans hadn't or heard from in years. He wasn't just a sibling. He was Jim's best friend and his right hand until something happened that tore them apart. No one knew exactly what caused their fallout. Some said it was pride, while others said it was money. For whatever reason, they hadn't spoken for nearly 7 years. Jim looked at him in disbelief and asked, "What are you doing here?" "I heard what happened," he continued calmly. "And before you ruin your whole life, I thought I'd remind you who you used to be." His brother entered the house without waiting for an invitation. Jim closed the door and spun around, obviously agitated. "A lecture is not necessary for me." His brother said, "No, but you need someone who isn't scared of telling you the truth." The tension in the room was high. These 2 men were related by blood but harbored years of animosity. They sat across from one another for a while without saying anything. And then gradually the conversation started to reveal layers that had been hidden for years. They discussed their early years and their father in the manner Jim constantly feeling the need to be the head of the household. His brother reminded him of how they had dreamed of success together before fame turned everything upside down. "You were never good at admitting when you were wrong," his brother said. "But this is your chance to fix something before it's too late," Jim said, biting his lip. "You don't know the full story." "Maybe not," he said. "But I know pain when I see it. And that boy's hurting." "You think I can't see it?" "He's scared of you, Jim." And whether you like it or not, that's on. Jim remained silent for a while after hearing those words, as if he was trying to come to terms with the fact that he had become his son's object of desire. Meanwhile, outside the house, paparazzi had set up camp. Someone had leaked Jim's location, and the front of his house now resembled a war zone, with cameras flashing and voices shouting and journalists searching for any sign of movement. When fans on the internet saw a blurry photo of the mystery visitor at Jim's door, rumors began to fly once more. The rumors ranged from secret brother to from a long-lost cousin to an undercover therapist sent by the family. Rumors circulated that Jim's son was still hiding and had been living with his mother, refusing to answer Jim's calls. However, what shocked fans the most was when he shared his brief but impactful message on his private Instagram account. "I'm not okay, but I will be, but I will be." Those 6 words were sufficient to cause a social media uproar, and thousands of individuals reposted the message with love and support. Messages like "Stay strong and we believe you" were all over the place. A rapper who had worked with Jim wrote, "Royalty isn't about silence, it's about accountability." Celebrities started taking sides. Others stood up for Jim, arguing that the public should stop disparaging Black fathers and that they were unaware of the whole situation. The discussion was all over the Tay Podcast Clubhouse. In the midst of all of this, a new video showing a heated moment between Jim and his son during a family barbecue last year was leaked. It was grainy and clearly recorded on someone's phone, and it showed Jim yelling and slamming a glass on the table while his son appeared visibly shaken. There was no physical contact, but the energy was explosive. Fans analyzed every second of the video. Some called it emotional abuse, while others said it was a family argument that had gotten out of hand. In any case, it further widened the gulf. "You have a choice right now. Either man up and make amends or keep acting like isn't your fault," he added. Jim stroked his temples. "You think I don't feel like a failure? You think I wanted this? Then show it," his brother replied forcefully. "Not to me, to him." After his brother left, Jim sat by himself as morning approached, watching the sunrise. His phone was constantly buzzing, alerting him to missed calls. The next day, Jim made a rare move. No tweets, no Instagram posts, no public outbursts. By discreetly contacting a family counselor who specialized in crisis management and scheduling an emergency session. They all mentioned headlines, but he chose to ignore them all and instead opened the one message he truly cared about. A picture of his son as a toddler, smiling, with chocolate smeared on his face. Chrissy sent the picture with no caption, just a reminder of what used to be. Though the internet was unaware of it at the time, something had changed. His son was going through his own emotional journey, and friends close to him reported that he had been journaling daily in an attempt to process the pain, betrayal, and confusion. He had also begun recording voice memos, talking aloud to himself, at times, sometimes sobbing, and at other times screaming. One source claimed that he was letting everything out that he had been holding inside for years, and in one of those recordings that was later leaked by a member of his circle, he said, something, I never hated him. I just wanted him to see me." Those words resonated with everyone watching the story unfold. Suddenly, it wasn't just about a fight. It was about a broken relationship between a father and a son. Two people lost in pain, trying desperately to find their way back, if that was even possible. As more details of the story emerged, the public's anger began to turn into concern, and messages of healing began to replace the memes and cancel posts. However, not everyone was prepared to forgive. Critics pointed out that true accountability required more than silence or therapy sessions. It required action, and Jim, they claimed, hadn't done enough. Nevertheless, the question that remained in everyone's mind was whether Jim and his son would ever get back together, or if the harm was irreversible. And Hope influencers started discussing generational trauma, toxic masculinity, and the need for Black families to heal in safe spaces. Just 2 days after Jim scheduled that emergency counseling session, a secret recording surfaced. The audio clip was barely 2 minutes long, but the content was explosive enough to reignite the chaos. Fans first heard it on a celebrity gossip page that had developed a reputation for leaking real-time drama. The caption simply read, "You won't believe what Jim Jones said behind closed doors. Listen now." Just when they thought the dust was finally settling, another unexpected twist emerged, this time involving a secret recording that threatened to destroy any hope of peace once and for all. The video went viral in a matter of minutes. Jim's voice was unmistakably raw, and he was heard venting to someone who was probably a close friend or associate. His tone was angry, frustrated, and hurtful. "I don't care if he's my blood," Jim said. "I'm not raising any weak man. You want to talk about feelings? Then go cry to your mama." The internet erupted, and people accused Jim of being emotionally abusive and of promoting toxic masculinity by refusing to take responsibility for the suffering he caused. Some fans were devastated, while others were incensed. Forgiveness seemed even more distant than before, but what the fans didn't realize was that this clip was taken out of context. Jim had said those words, but they came from a conversation that happened months ago when their family tension was at its highest. He wasn't talking about his son at the time. Instead, he was discussing a situation involving a former business partner. The audio had been edited, trimmed, and presented as though it was recent. The betrayal devastated even Jim. In a quiet Instagram live, he said, "This isn't just about me anymore. This is about how far people will go to destroy you, especially when you're trying to do better." "This is foul," he said, losing his temper once the truth was revealed. However, the damage was done. People believed what they wanted to believe, and Jim's son, who was still vulnerable, saw the click as well. According to people close to him, he broke down when Chrissy, who had been working behind the scenes to keep the family together, finally spoke up. She posted a long message on her story addressing the drama without naming names. "Healing isn't pretty. Families fall apart, but they can also come back together. Stop putting gasoline on a fire you didn't start." The post went viral on its own, with fans divided between those who praised her strength and others who accused her of enabling Jim emotions. Hearing it, he was just beginning to trust again. One insider said, "And it shattered him." We're running high everywhere, and even some of Jim's closest industry friends started to turn away. One former collaborator publicly unfollowed him and tweeted, "Protect Black sons." Feeling the weight of it all, Jim made the unthinkable decision to speak to his son directly, not through Chrissy, lawyers, or pro statements said in person, by sending a handwritten letter requesting a private meeting with no cameras, no noise, just the two of us. After a few days, the media started claiming that Jim had been rejected because he had not responded. Fans interpreted it as a sign that there was no chance of reconciliation, but something was changing behind the scenes. The son had been talking to his therapist every day in an attempt to make sense of his feelings. He wanted to scream, fight, and cry, but more than anything, he needed clarity. He wasn't sure if he wanted to forgive, but he needed answers. Eventually, he agreed to meet, but only if the session was facilitated by a qualified mediator. "I messed up," Jim said bluntly. "I let my pride get in the way of being your father. I thought being tough was love. I thought protecting you meant controlling you." The mediator started slowly encouraging both to speak without interruption. The first 10 minutes were spent alone, away from the city, away from flashing lights, and without phones, microphones, or internet. Jim looked older than usual, tired and worn out, and his son looked guarded, arms crossed, and sharp-eyed. His son didn't react immediately, but his breathing changed. It became slower and heavier. "I was afraid of becoming the man who raised me," Jim continued, "and in trying not to become him, I became him." Those words struck hard, and finally his son said, "I didn't need you to be perfect. Just show up. Not with rules, not with lectures, just show up." The session lasted more than 2 hours, during which there were tears, apologies, silence, and The realization that I didn't need you to be perfect. Fans noticed that Jim and his son had both posted the same quote on their Instagram stories. Healing isn't loud, it's quiet, slow, and real. Was the first time in what seemed like years that there was understanding. When it ended, no one hugged or posed for pictures, but something fundamental had changed when they left the room. They weren't fixed, but they were finally facing the same direction. All it took for the internet to light up again. All of a sudden, the story began to change. People started complimenting the maturity required to have that meeting. Mental health advocates used the story to discuss the significance of Black men healing their inner wounds. Podcasts devoted entire episodes to the story's development. Some even referred to it as the most real thing Jim had ever done. However, just as the story was beginning to turn around, a shocking revelation came from a source close to the family. Apparently, a legal document was filed behind the scenes. That alluded to a custody dispute, not over a child, but over a joint business venture that Jim and his son had been developing covertly for more than a year. The fight was not only personal, it was also professional, leaving fans in disbelief. The source claimed that the project was intended to be a media company that would empower young voices. The plan had been set in motion covertly, but once their relationship soured, so did the deal. Now, the question was whether they could continue to do business together. Before any of those answers could be given, another unexpected figure returned. Someone from Jim's past brought secrets that could either save his family or destroy it forever. This unexpected figure was none other than Freddie, Jim's estranged older brother. After everything that happened, some fans said yes, while others weren't so sure. And suddenly, the drama took a different turn because this wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about legacy, trust, money, influence, and whether two wounded men could rebuild something greater than their pain. Freddie had been living in the shadows of Jim's fame for years, choosing to live a life away from the cameras and the chaos. But now he had returned, and according to several sources, he wasn't just there for a visit. He had a purpose. Freddie had been watching the family's drama unfold from a distance, having heard the leaked audio, seen the fight, and grasped the depth of the scars between Jim and his son. However, no one knew that Freddie had the piece that would make all the difference. Was responsible for securing funding from private investors, writing the original mission statement, and holding the contracts quietly, legally, and without drama when things fell apart. However, now that the public was aware of the business, Freddie saw an opportunity to step up and force the two men to finish what they started. He asked for a meeting with both of them, but Jim was initially hesitant because his relationship with Freddie wasn't exactly smooth. There were unresolved childhood rivalries, old betrayals, and years of silence that neither brother had the courage to break. Surprisingly, Jim's son accepted it, saying, "Perhaps we should stop acting as though the past never happened." That remark alone convinced Jim to agree. They met again in a private setting, with no cameras or media present. Just the three men seated around a table containing memories of old paperwork and decades of suffering. Freddie didn't waste time, he said, taking out a folder that contained original documents. That demonstrated that all three of them had been listed as equal partners in the business. "You started there," Freddie added, "but you've both been acting like enemies. It's time to decide. Do you want to fix the past or burn the future?" Jim leaned back and stared at the ceiling, seemingly trying to control the storm inside of him. His son looked perplexed, saying, "I didn't know you were involved." Freddie nodded. "I wasn't, and I regret that. But perhaps this is my chance to be present, not as your uncle. Your uncle. Not as Jim's brother, but as someone who thinks you can build something real too." The hours-long meeting covered everything from legal clauses to emotional trauma, and for the first time, Jim and his son began speaking as partners rather than rivals. They came up with new ideas for the business, including the idea of a podcast where fathers and sons could discuss conflict healing and the truth. They even contemplated making a documentary about their journey, not for publicity, but to help others who might be suffering in silence in broken families. Fans, of course, were unaware of all of this. Was happening to the outside world, Jim had stopped posting on social media, had no new music, and had no interviews. It seemed as though he had disappeared. The blog speculated that he was in rehab or was retiring, but in fact, Jim was going through a process of self-discovery and putting all of his energy into repairing his relationship with himself and his son. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, Jim made a single video post called Rebuild. "I'm not perfect. I've hurt people I love, but I'm not going to run from it. I'm here to say we're still writing the story, and the next chapter is going to be different," Jim said, sitting on a wooden chair and staring straight into the camera. It was only 2 minutes long with no dazzling editing or background music. Millions of people viewed the video on the internet, and the comment section was, his son posted the video with the straightforward statement, "Let's build amid a barrage," of responses like, "We see your growth, and this is what accountability looks like." The atmosphere changed immediately after that. Rumors circulated that the father and son had started working on their media company again, and fans conjectured about possible interviews and even joint ventures with other father-son hip-hop duos. Producers were hired, and they worked non-stop. Behind the scenes, a strategy was established, and then there was the official announcement of a live panel event in New York City, where Jim and his son would discuss their journey for the first time in public. The event was invitation only, but it was live-streamed for the world to watch. On the day of the event, tension was high as celebrities, influencers, journalists, and regular fans all tuned in, wondering if the drama was really over or if it was just another performance. The lights went down, and Jim walked out first, dressed entirely in black. The audience fell silent as Jim took the microphone. "Months ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life," he said. "I let my anger speak louder. Then my love? I hurt someone who deserved better, and it took me losing almost everything to realize that's not the man I want to be." His expression was calm but serious, and then his son appeared, standing a few feet beside him. They didn't hug or smile, they just looked at each other and nodded. They then announced the official launch of their new podcast series, Bloodlines. The first episode would drop that weekend, delving deeply into their real-life journey from violence to vulnerability. Fans went crazy online, with hashtags like #Bloodlines, #Jim Jones, and #FatherSomeHealing trending for hours. He paused, the room was still, and his son spoke next. "I've been angry and confused, but I've also grown, and I realized something. Although the panel's footage was widely shared, the most impactful part may have been when Jim turned to face his son just before he left the stage. Instead of speaking into the microphone, he simply murmured, 'Thank you for giving me a second chance.' Don't waste it," his kid said in a whisper after glancing into his moist eyes. The picture of the father and kid standing next to each other, both bruised, but although the world celebrated this moment of unity, there were rumors of another scandal brewing beneath the surface. Someone in Jim's inner circle had allegedly sold private text messages to a tabloid, which painted a very different picture of Jim's mindset in the early days of the fallout. Although the messages had not yet been published, insiders warned that they were explosive. So even though the family was stronger than ever, another storm was quietly brewing on the horizon. From a shocking altercation that almost split a family apart to a public moment of healing and reflection, fans are left feeling a range of emotions as this intense chapter in Jim Jones's life comes to an end. This story has been nothing short of unbelievable, the raw pain, the deeply personal confessions, the unexpected reappearance of a long-lost brother, and the emotional reunion between father and son. Every twist has kept viewers riveted. We want to hear from you now. Do you think Jim Jones has changed? Is this the redemption arc fans have been waiting for? Or is this just another stage in a cycle of drama? With rumors of more drama on the horizon, one thing is certain, this story is far from over. Will Jim be able to protect his family's newfound peace? Will the rumored text message leak cause another media frenzy? Can the father-son bond truly withstand the pressures of fame, business, and betrayal? Guys, please share your opinions in the space provided here. We're reading each and every one of them. If this roller coaster startled, moved, or just delighted you, don't forget to hit the like button. If you're craving more shocking celebrity tales, behind-the-scenes information, and first access to them, make sure to subscribe and enable notifications for the realm of hip-hop drama. Won't want to miss what comes next since nothing remains concealed. For very long in the world of celebrity, family, and feuds. Stay tuned and remember that even when the cameras are rolling, we always have the actual story. Give up rolling.